Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and I'm the airline pilot. This is the new update about Air India crash. So today we have some of the extra information about the case. First of all, we have the good news. If we can speak about the good news in this case, well, the black boxes, the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder were recovered from the crash site. Those boxes are located at the very aft part of the airplane and you can see that it didn't sustain like dramatic damages. It is still in one piece, which helped to recover those boxes. This door, guys, is the access door for the maintenance of the auxiliary power unit. Also, those are two doors, they just open for maintenance. And here we have one more image of another wing with registration number of the aircraft. And seeing the trailing edge devices on this image, they look like retracted. It's hard to see whether slats are extended on this wing, but on the other wing, which we saw yesterday, they were extended. It's kind of hard to judge, but it looks like the flaps are retracted. It's kind of the strange configuration of the airplane again. Also, guys, let's watch this video again from the CCTV cameras. I don't see any sort of the birds. I don't see any sort of the smoke coming, which you usually have from the engine surge or stall. And the airplane just airborne. It looks like, yeah, the airborne quite late, judging on the ground, judging on those particles coming, like the grass, dust. And immediately it lost the lift. So it's even hard to judge whether it lost the thrust, but it seems like the thrust was derated at first, which led to the loss of the lift. The engines are very powerful. Yeah, the temperature was high, 37 degrees, but it's not the problem for those very powerful engines. If you lose the thrust, just put the thrust levers to the wall and to the maximum position like you do it in a wind shear. So if you lose the vertical speed, the airplane should handle that if you start it. The main problem for the airplane is then you lose the airspeed a lot. You enter the envelope where you need significant thrust to overcome the lift loss. It happens close to the critical angle of attack. So then the airplane, for the better explanation, the airplane pitch is too high. You need to overcome it with more thrust and lowering nose down. It wasn't done here in this case. The nose continued to point up more and more and the airplane was just parachuting down. Because it's the fly-by-wire airplane, it didn't let the crew to completely stall it to one of the wings to go to the super stall. The airplane, as you saw, just lost the lift and went down to the ground, maintaining wings leveled. Alright, and here we have more information. Again, I'll put the link for the Aviation Herald website for you to check it out yourself. Everything marked in yellow is the new information published. So we have the exact geographical position, the coordinates where the aircraft hit the ground. It's not important information after all, because it doesn't show us what was the cause of the crash, but we have the information about 8 fatalities on the ground confirmed, in addition to many injuries on the ground. That's very bad. It's the populated area after all. But again, if you check out the satellite images, this area is not that populated as some of the nearby other areas. The crew declared Mayday, but they didn't specify the nature of the Mayday, the nature of the stress. They only called that something is wrong, I guess some sort of the technical issue of the airplane. Today, DGCA, those are the Indian Aviation Authorities, reported that initial preliminary findings rule out a bird strike, as no bird carcasses were found, so it wasn't a bird strike. Loading of the aircraft was routine, hence a load problem is unlikely, so the overload, as many people wrote somehow, why, I don't know, it's not a problem. Then you load the aircraft with baggage, cargo, passengers, you leave the part of the documents on the ground. So you have this weight imbalance form with you, but the ground personnel, they also have the same. And nowadays it's done electronically, so there is the special software which shows you how to load the airplane. They also say that the likelihood of the pilot error is considered minimal, as is the simultaneous failure of both engines. Kind of interesting statement, I would say, especially about the pilot error, because after all, the configuration of the airplane was strange. The landing gear was not retracted. Well, I understand why, maybe because it wasn't like the constant climb they had for some of the reason, but I also tend to believe that it was some sort of the technical failure of the aircraft. But at this stage, I don't want to fully speculate about this issue. I would wait for more information coming. As you see today, they at least published something. An inspection of all Dreamliners have been ordered, so all of the airplanes of that type will be inspected. Yeah, we know the reason for inspection, but what particularly should they inspect? Maybe they have already some of the clue. And the great information that black boxes have been recovered, I'm sure that they are in a good state. They will be decoded, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, which show everything. About the survivor, he is the citizen of United Kingdom, and it's the miracle that he survived. Really, it's an outstanding situation. I think it's beyond understanding even. It was not even the angel who saved him. I think it was the God personally, because you saw the wreckage, the airplane completely ruined, just the very tail part where no one was sitting. The guy was sitting actually in the front part of the airplane, and he walked away from the crash, personally walked away. I think the chance for him to survive was 1 in a billion, but he sustained just minor injuries. It is crazy, guys. Yeah, definitely God has different plans on that guy. Alright, about the flight crew, the information coming from India, the captain of the flight, 60 years old, so kind of the elderly pilot, had accumulated 8,200 hours. Well, for this age, that's not a lot. Probably he wasn't flying throughout his career and started flying in his 40s. Because I have similar to that experience, and my career lasted just for 13 years. But he was a line training captain and was up to retire. The first officer had accumulated 1,100 hours of flying experience. I wonder on what aircraft type. 1,100, you may say it's low, but it's fine. For United States Airlines, this is low. They hire usually with 1,500 hours at least. And also it's important, guys, here we have the clarification about the ADS-B data, so the data which airplane was sending, and we already obtained it from the Flight Radar 24 source. So the altitude of the airplane was 625 feet, but the elevation of the terrain is 225 feet. So the real airplane height was just 400 feet. The airspeed of 174 knots was recorded at the last point where ADS-B data was sent to the Flight Radar 24, but more information with every millisecond of the flight we can obtain from the flight data recorder. And they need the time to decode everything. It usually happens in around 1 week or something like that. And that information is usually published right away in some of the media outlets, and over here, I guess, in Aviation Herald, we're gonna see it. The initial investigation report will be published on DGCA page, the Ministry of the Transportation of India, and usually they need around 1 month to come out with initial report about the case. So yeah, with the black boxes, we're gonna see the conditions of the thrust provided by the engines throughout the short flight, whether all of the systems working, the positions of everything, flight controls, thrust levers, everything is recorded in those black boxes. Anyways, my friends, I'm gonna update you with all of the information coming about the case. For now, unfortunately, we still cannot tell the main cause of the crash because it is yet unknown. As usual, in every aviation accident, there is the chain of events, but with 1 or 2 main causes. Guys, that's all what I want to say today. Thank you so much for watching me. Ciao.